This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Hi, Adrienne Stein here, and this is Raising Me. It's the podcast where we take the challenges and the things that we might feel unsure about, self-conscious about, anxious about as parents, and go right to the experts for advice. And today we are talking about a helpful strategy when our kids, or actually when we feel anxiety creep up, and just to keep us in a better place mentally and emotionally in general. We're talking about meditation, and this is not the woo-woo, I'm sitting in the lotus position, chanting a word kind of thing, which is absolutely great if you know how to do that and you can do that. This is really more beginner stuff that we're talking about for both you and your kids. We'll talk about the benefits and the things that are actually considered meditation that you might have never thought of. And it's really just some good life strategies, especially for those of us who have monkey mind, as I learned it was called, and found out that I have. Don't be offended, because you probably do too. Dr. Allyson Coffin is here with us, and she is a chiropractor who studies the neuroscience of all of this. She is also so passionate about working with kids and families, and even coaches people on meditation. So she's here to help us understand that it can be really simple to do with some really great benefits. Allyson, thank you so much for being here in our studio to talk about meditation. I'm just going to be really transparent just from the start, because I know about meditation. I've heard a million times how good it is for you. But it kind of stresses me out. Like, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, that is what I hear all the time from people. Good. And I think the major thing, if anybody gets anything out of us talking to each other, is that you can't do meditation wrong. You can be sitting and meditating and be thinking about your grocery list, or like your kids yelling at each other, or the kind of shoes you need to buy. And that's still meditating. You're still taking a separate space for yourself, opposed to like the constant flow of life.
Okay, so I love to hear that, because it is where I'm like, wait, is my stomach supposed to go in or out? Or am I breathing right? Anyway, but we're talking specifically today for the purposes of our children.
Yeah.
So why should we be thinking about incorporating meditation into our children's daily lives? Like, what are the benefits of meditation for kids?
There's tons of benefits for kids, and kids don't do meditation the same way adults do, because their attention span is different. But when they do meditate, their attention span is longer, which I think a lot of us like.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Taking notes. Got it. Okay.
It also helps them with emotional regulation. So a lot of our kids have a hard time not regulating their emotions because their brains aren't that developed. And we can help them with that by teaching them some meditation techniques. It also makes them more creative. When they have downtime, their brain has more space to think and make more different connections. And so they can be more creative when they are meditators. It helps them gain empathy towards other people, which most people want for their kids.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Is there an age in particular? Like, what is too young to think about this? Or is it never too early, really, once they get to a toddler age, I guess?
Well, you're not going to teach your newborn how to meditate.
Right.
But something that you can do is, if you're like, every newborn needs to be fed. So, and you have to sit down every single time that baby cries and feed them. And what you can do is do meditation while you're feeding them. So you can sit and don't scroll on your phone. Don't read a book. You sit with that baby and you breathe with the baby, and it helps regulate their emotions and your emotions. It increases your oxytocin and is so helpful. So you can do that as a new parent. That's completely fine. And then also you can lead by example. When your kids are like 2-3 years old, they watch everything you do. You think like if they're brushing their teeth, they try to brush their teeth like you. If you brush your hair, same thing. Like make food, everybody has a play kitchen. They do that. And so if you're meditating, they will literally mirror your activity and meditate. It's amazing. I mean, I remember the first time I saw my son do it. I was like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just meditating, Mom. I was like, oh, yay. He wasn't doing anything.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
What age was that?
He was like 2.5.
Okay. So 2.5. Oh my goodness. So what about though, Like for older kids, middle school, even high school, how do you get them to think about this as an opportunity that can really help them?
Yeah. So you want to phrase it in a way that's going to like be advantageous for them. So not like it's going to help you with your emotions because you're yelling at me all the time.
like this is going to bring your mother peace.
Yeah.
So please
do this
meditate.
Yeah. Be like, if you can get your homework done on an easier clip, I can help you with this meditation app. And there's a whole bunch of different apps I can tell you about that are easy for middle school kids, elementary kids, and like adults. And even the kid apps are good for adults because they're easy to follow along. And it's a great way to start meditating.
Like if we're a beginner.
If you're a beginner. Yeah.
Okay.
And most of us are beginners. I mean, nobody's like an expert until you meditate for like hundreds of thousands of hours.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine. What does meditation look like for kids versus what I think we traditionally would think about meditation for adults?
So for kids, I like to start with kids with a guided meditation. So, and also very, very short meditation. So 2 minutes, 3 minutes. No kid is going to sit for a 20-minute meditation. No. I mean, maybe one in
that
a million.
Would be amazing.
Yeah. So you just pull up something that they're interested in. There's an app called, it's like Ninja Mind. It's a meditation app for kids. And so if your kid's into ninjas, which lots of kids are, you pull that up and you guys can do the meditation together. It's like 3 to 5 minutes. There's another thing that I really love as a tool. It's called a Zenimal, and you can get it online. And it's like it's like the shape of a turtle, and you have different guided meditations in it, and it's geared towards children. But there's no screen attached to it, which makes it so cool. And you press the button and it does different meditations based on like breathing, confidence builders, empathy. And then at the end of every meditation, if you get the ones for kids, it says, "You're a good kid." And like, how beautiful is that?
I love that.
Yeah.
And it is in the platform that kids are used to on a phone or a tablet or
for sure.
Whatever it is. I mean, that's just the reality. The other part of it would be sticking with it. It's one thing to start doing these kinds of things with your kids. Or, if you don't have an app, I would want to hear like what can we do in that way? But also sticking with it is really tough. It might be good for a couple of days, but then what?
So I think if you really want to meditate and you can get benefits from meditating once. But if you really want to get those benefits from meditation, you want to set a goal. Like, I want to meditate for 6 weeks and I want to do 5 minutes a day. Right. And so when you do that, then you'll notice how you feel after that. And then people continue to do it. The people that I've coached on meditation, after they've done 6 weeks of 5 minutes every single day, they do not stop because their body feels better. Their mind feels better. Their relationships are better. And all they're doing is sitting in silence for 5 minutes or following a guided meditation for 5 minutes. It's like, it's the reward benefit ratio is so enormous.
What about when your mind starts going in a million different directions? Because, sitting 5 minutes, being quiet, but part of it is really like focusing your thoughts, right? So what if you're starting to think about, I've got to put those clothes in the laundry or in the dryer. Oh my goodness, I forgot to add that to the grocery list. Like, how do we get to a place where we really feel like it is effective?
That is called the monkey mind. And
great. Thank you so much. I feel a little called out, but continue. Thanks, Allyson.
No problem. So the monkey mind is when you're thinking about everything all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody has the monkey mind.
Okay.
Everybody, even like Buddhist monks, they have the monkey mind, and they'll say so in the books that they write. So when you are trying to meditate and you want to quiet that down, it's easy. There's a couple things that you can do. So you can like chant a word quietly in your own head. So you can just say, you can count your breath. That's a very easy thing to do. It just kind of like focuses you back to where you are. Another thing that people do, you can do box breathing. That's also really helpful. So
what is that?
Yes. So box breathing, like if you can draw a box with your hands, you breathe up, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, start again, up. And then so you're focused on that.
Yep.
It's really hard to like count breathing in a box and also think about your laundry at the same time. So you could just do that for 5 minutes also, because that will occupy your mind space and you'll feel like, I did a really good job. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think I definitely have a monkey mind because as I'm thinking about that, I can also see like, oh wait, I'm only at 3 minutes. Okay, here we go. It does, you have to build up to it. And that's just not for adults, obviously we're talking about right now, but for kids too. So like you said, starting small.
Start small. And meditation doesn't always look like sitting in the lotus position and just saying Om all day. You can meditate when you are in like a busy bus station. But the thing that is helpful when you're in those scenarios or you need to calm yourself down is to find a still object. So don't look at all the rushing people. You want to look at like the post or look at the water bottle that's not moving and let that stillness kind of embody yourself. And then you can start to breathe because stillness is calming and like rushing craziness is not. So you can find a place of stillness most places that you are.
You know, what comes to mind is like kids with anxiety. And we've talked about that a lot on this podcast, that anxiety is at an epidemic level when it comes to kids right now. How does meditation help kids who might be feeling anxious?
Oh, so many ways. It's so cool. So kids that are anxious, they have a hard time using their prefrontal cortex, which is right above your eyebrows in your brain, because that's like where you make rational decisions. And when you're always in a state of fear or anxiety, that part of your brain is not really turned on. So when they do meditate, they can make more conscious decisions. They have more clarity. And also they start living in their parasympathetic state, which is like opposite of a fear response. So a fear response is your sympathetic state where you're just like always in a rush and you can't make a decision and like you're just anxious. You know, you're biting your nails and you're walking on your toes and you're freaking out. And then when you do meditate, then you can go into your parasympathetic state, which is what we call like down on your heels and your palms up. Like when you stand that way, that feels relaxing. And when you're crushed forward, that doesn't feel relaxing. And so when they do breathe and do meditation or even just take in the breathing techniques that you can learn through meditation, that can calm their anxiety like tenfold. And they can do things that they would literally be paralyzed from before.
So we talked about some of the apps and the box breathing, but what could some meditation techniques look like for kids, you know, in the middle school, high school kind of range?
So there's a couple really good meditation techniques that I like to teach. So if you could take both of your hands and put your fingers together, just match them up on both sides. And so if you're feeling anxious or if you have something to do that's making you nervous, you're just going to put your fingers together and you're going to tap your pinkies together, tap your ring finger, tap your middle finger, tap your first finger, your thumb. You're just going to keep doing it over and over again. And as you continue to do it, you notice that your breath slows down because you have to think about the tapping. And you can't think about your anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
So it turns your brain, the anxious part of your brain off, and you feel real good.
It's so simple. I actually can, I didn't even realize I was feeling anxious, but like you can feel just sort of
like chill.
A little, just like you're chilling out a little bit.
Yeah.
What, you know, I also wonder too, like what advice would you have for maybe skeptics even? They're like, what do you mean you're teaching your kids to meditate? That's a little out there.
Yeah. Well, I just say try it.
Yeah.
You know, don't knock it till you try it. It's been life-changing for me. It's really cool when you see your kids being able to pause in a hard moment. They're not perfect all the time and neither are adults, and that's okay. And that's also something you learn in meditation. Every single time is not perfect. You're not like in a Zen cloud every single time. If you were, nobody would talk to each other. Everybody would meditate. But once they figure it out, it's like the rewards. I can't explain to you how good the rewards are from meditating. Just 5 minutes.
What have you found? I mean, you've been, practicing for a while now.
Yeah.
So what, be a case study. Like,
sure.
What is it? What have you noticed? And why should we be thinking about this, not just for our kids, but ourselves too?
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Okay, so there's a bunch of different things. I'll just name a couple. So like, I think everybody has some hardships with their families of origin or even their extended family, right? And you can't control other people. And when you meditate, you can make space for that in your mind that you can't control other people and you can breathe through it. So if something is happening in your family and it is affecting you, like you're having like a nervous system response, your heart is beating, you're getting nervous, you like can't focus, you can go back to your own breath and chill yourself out. And how valuable is that?
Very.
Yes.
Actually, it's a word that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other ways that are very helpful. Most people have to do like some sort of public speaking in their life.
Yes.
Or they have to do a job interview. Like teenagers, they have their first jobs.
Yeah. What would suggest for them?
Yeah. So there's another easy technique. And usually before the job interview, nobody's looking at you. So you can take your hands in front of you and you roll forward and breathe out. And then you breathe up when you do this. And that'll calm your breath because you're moving and breathing at the same time. And then you can go into that interview and be like, get your jitters out, which is nice.
Oh my gosh, that's a great one. So we have the finger tapping, we have the rolling.
Mm-hmm.
What is there anything else that is a real simple thing to do?
Yeah. Most people do this, but they don't notice that they do this. When you're breathing and your mouth is closed, you can feel the air from your nose hit your upper lip.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just focus on that when you're breathing with your mouth closed, that can calm your nervous system down a ton. And you don't have to move or do anything.
Well, that's so easy.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's just really bringing your mind to one thing in particular.
A sensation. So you can make a sensation like I want to feel the air coming out of my nose, or you can focus on like how my feet feel touching the ground. You can focus on the sounds that you hear or the lack of sounds. Just pick one sensation and focus on that.
You find there's a time of day that tends to work better when incorporating this? Yes, you're shaking your head. Yes,
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the morning when you first wake up is the absolute easiest time to meditate.
Okay. Why is that?
Because your brain has rested, hopefully, and your brain is rested. Usually your house is quiet. You haven't gotten to your to-do list yet. So if you wake up, brush your teeth or whatever, and then you can sit in quiet and just think for 5 minutes or don't think. Whatever. You're just taking time for yourself for 5, 10, 20. You can do it for an hour if you want. Your day will be so much better. And in the morning is the time. Nighttime, everybody has it's always something.
Or soccer, there's homework, there's dinner. Yes. Did anybody take the dog out? All the things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did I sign the permission slip?
You got to get in the shower. I usually chase my 5-year-old around the house for a good 30 minutes saying, it's time to take a shower, wear your pajamas, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you can see how that's hard.
Yes, I can. But what comes to mind too is and I guess I never really thought about it as meditation, but I get up early enough that I can sit and have a cup of coffee without anybody talking to me, without the TV on, without, anybody is moving around the house, getting ready. And that is sort of like a form of, it's just quietness and a cup of coffee.
That is meditation.
Oh, okay.
So that's mindfulness.
Okay.
You are being mindful of your surroundings and your life. And if you want to take it just one tiny step forward, just breathe while your coffee's brewing for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And just see how that feels. And then if you want to do more, you can do more. If you don't.
Is there any research that just as far, this has been around for a long time, of course, but just some of the short-term effects the benefits we've talked about, but what about long-term benefits?
So the cool long-term benefits is that, just like we talked about with the brain and the prefrontal cortex above your eyebrows, it helps develop the musculature of your brain, because your brain is a muscle, and in your prefrontal cortex and in your hippocampus, which is right in the inside of your brain. If you slice your brain in half, it's right on the inside. It looks like a seahorse sort of. And so it'll strengthen those portions of the brain which deteriorate as we age, and it makes you less likely to have things that happen when you age: dementia, muscle problems, extreme fatigue, lack of clarity. All those things happen as we age, and we need to exercise our body. We've all seen a body that's not been exercised. And actually, we've all seen a brain that's not been exercised. We just don't know that that's what that is. We can have genetic markers for dementia, but also you can help push those genetic markers away by changing the neural pathways in your brain and meditating, and it will literally rewire your brain. There's research studies on it. Yeah.
Wow. We're obviously talking about kids and us as parents, but I think about grandparents too. They would benefit from really incorporating this more into their daily life as well, especially as we age.
Totally. So, my mom wanted to learn. I've been into meditation for a long time, so she wanted to learn about meditation. I said, "Sure, I'll teach you how to do it." And so we just did this little practice. She wanted to change her work. And so I said, how about we sit in silence for 5 minutes before we start making decisions? And so she did that. Then she was like, I feel so clear. I can like decide what I want to do. And then she started and made some goals for herself or whatever. And then she started meditating for 5 minutes every single morning. And she was like, I just feel so much less stress. I feel so much better. And all they got to do is like, you can sit in silence, which can be difficult.
Yeah.
Can be very difficult. Setting a timer is also very helpful to like watch the time move along.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But like older people can learn. They can 100% learn.
Right. So it's for everybody in the family, really.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, it is for everybody. I guess if it was for the parents, what are just a couple of things that maybe we could do to bring this into our lives today?
Like as a parent wanting to meditate or a parent teaching your kid?
I think both.
Okay. So the first thing that you want to do is try it.
Try it.
Yeah. So you don't need to research it to death.
And it's okay if it stresses you out the first
totally
time.
Fine.
Right.
It's okay if you're stressed the first 100 times. That's okay. Starting out in the morning is much easier. So if we're trying to develop a new skill, do it when it's the easiest. So do it in the morning and couple it with another thing that you do. So you had a great example with the coffee. If you have to brew your coffee in the morning, or maybe you like set the timer so it's like totally ready.
Not quite that fancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Or that organized.
Well, no judgment here. So you can just breathe for those 2 minutes, get your coffee cup, press the button, sit down and breathe, and you can put your hand over your belly and just feel your belly go up and down. Or just listen to your quiet house. Think how cool that is. And just do it for a little while and see how you feel. And then your kids someday is going to wake up early and they're going to see you sitting there. And they're like, Mom, what are you doing? You tell them, I'm meditating. Oh, what's that? Why are you doing that? It's like, oh, it makes me feel good. Can I show you? Do you want to get a cup of hot water? Do you want to get a tea? Do you want to do it with me? And you just like invite them into your world. Kids love to be invited into your world. They love to feel like grown-ups. Even teenagers want to feel cool like their mom. So
really?
They do. They do. Like in the quiet moments when no one else is watching.
Sure.
Yeah. So you can just like, you can bring them in, let them see it.
And it's incorporating it into the conversation, not, feeling like this is something you need to do on your own or behind closed doors. Like it is, has such benefits that it really is good for everybody to consider doing.
Yeah. And also when you meditate as a group, so they have like tons of meditation groups you can do, or you can even like zoom into like thousands of meditation people together. When you meditate with other people, it actually decreases your stress more than if you meditate individually, which I thought was kind of fascinating. And I needed to see a study about it to believe it, but it is true. So, so if you incorporate it with somebody else, or maybe like your partner, you can meditate before bed, like 2 minutes. That's it. Put your phone down. No one needs to know what's going on Facebook for 2 minutes. Yeah. And just breathe together and see if that even makes your relationship closer. And if that happens, how cool is that?
Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
And I think too, even, I'm thinking in terms of like putting my 5-year-old to bed at night when we're doing stories, do we take 2 minutes to just breathe?
Totally. And sometimes there's a free podcast.
Okay.
We're doing a podcast.
Love it.
It's called Bedtime Stories. And the person talks in a very slow voice, so it sets you up for that meditation. It tells a story. You can pick whatever thing your kid's into. This is for like 6 and under. And then once that turns off, you say, okay, that's great. Now let's just breathe together. And then like whatever else your other thing is that you do for your bedtime routine, you're like, okay, let's just do 3 breaths together. That's how you start.
Yeah.
It's not like 20 minutes.
Right.
Breathe 3 times.
Yeah.
And they'll resist it. There's times that kids resist it and are like, I hate this. I don't want to do this.
Totally. And so you're right. Okay. Just don't force it at that point. Right.
No.
Just try again another time.
Yeah. Or just model it and they'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. If there was one takeaway for today, if there was one thing to pick, what would that be? Where do we start?
The one takeaway is just do it. Like, just try it. Just try it. That's it. Do 2 minutes, sit down, set a timer. Don't look at your phone. See how that feels.
I love it. Thank you so much, Allyson. I always appreciate you coming and chatting with us. Of course, I should mention we'll have these resources on our website, which is wgme.com/raisingme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is so great.
Love it.
Here's my big takeaway with all of this is that meditation doesn't have to be some big thing to add to our to-do lists. We just have to keep it simple and keep it small to start. And after talking with Dr. Coffin, I really am way more protective of that quiet cup of coffee in the morning, even if it does mean getting up a little earlier than I would like to most days. But it is such a simple pleasure to be in stillness and in quiet and just take that time to be reflective. I've even tried some of that breathing while the coffee is brewing, though most of the time I'll just admit that the monkey mind is often in full effect. As for the kids, really it's the same kind of thing. We have heard the benefits here, helping with attention span and emotional regulation, even enhancing creativity, but it doesn't really have to be some big, overwhelming thing, like 2 or 3 minutes. And just really finding what works for you and your family. Is it a guided app or, that box breathing or the finger tapping, which I actually felt my anxiety drop while doing that with Dr. Coffin, or just simply sitting in silence without a phone in hand. That one's great for the teenagers. It really is good stuff to just slow down and breathe. Thank you so much for listening to Raising Me. I'm Adrienne Stein. This episode is edited by Megan Littlefield and produced with Nate Eldridge. Please follow Raising Me wherever you get your podcast. And if this helped you in any way, please consider a positive rating and review. That helps others to find this message, and we really appreciate it. Wherever you are, I hope you learned something new and get to take a little time for you.